The Academy Awards are just 6 weeks away, and the show still doesn't have a host. Comedian and actor Kevin Hart, he was hired for the gig, but then dropped out after homophobic tweets from years back were discovered. But Variety's now reporting that the Academy is open to having Hart host the show. Ever since this whole thing flared up in fits and starts, Hart has been on a quasi-apology tour. Here he is on The Ellen Show.
I understand why people would be upset, which is why I made the choice to not use him anymore. I don't joke like that anymore because that was wrong. That was a guy that was just looking for laughs and that was stupid. I don't do that anymore.
Ellen, for herself, accepted the apology, and she's even been lobbying for Hart to host.
I called the Academy today. I said, Kevin's on. I have no idea if he wants to come back and host, but what are your thoughts? And they were like, oh my God, we want him to host.
And that brings me to Don Lemon. The CNN host, who's openly gay, has spoken out about Hart on his program, taking him to task for the comments. After that, Hart called Lemon, and here's Don Lemon talking about how that conversation went.
I was happy that he called. I was happy that he was very honest. And I told him, I can share my part, that he's not a victim. And I also tell people that even with myself, I have to check my internalized homophobia about certain issues. I had a learning curve when it comes to, or when it came to transgender people, or when it comes to people who were part of my community who were effeminate, and all the things that you think, stereotypes that you think about.
Joining me now is Michael Musto. He's columnist for NewNowNext.com. You know, Michael, this wasn't some stray comment he made. Let's be clear. He said if he found out his son was gay, he'd take a dollhouse and smash it over his head. And in that same conversation I heard with Don Lemon, he made a point to say, you know, for a lot of kids who get beaten up even at home for being gay, that's not funny. And, you know, if you're ever going to have somebody that's going to come out and on international TV condemn homophobia and do a mea culpa, it would be Hart. How do you navigate both the opportunity for him talking, but also the message of him being the host even after that doing it?
Well, yeah, that joke I didn't even see as a joke. I know he's a comic, but it came out more like a remark. There was no LOL at the end of it. It was horrible to even kind of make light of abusing your own kid, you know, beating your own kid because you think they might be gay. Richard, I'm so confused now because, first of all, Kevin was told by the Academy, according to him, to apologize and we'll keep you. He refused. He stepped down. He then apologized 2 minutes later, and it was a pretty decent apology. He then said, I'm withdrawing from, you know, I don't want to get in the middle of this whole thing and distract from the awards. He then does the Ellen, which makes it seem that he wants the job again. There was so much backlash to the Ellen show because, yes, he did say he was wrong, but also they seemed to blame internet trolls, quote unquote, for trying to destroy his career. That to me was like smearing the queer community again, because the internet trolls were the people who remembered or learned of his horrible remark and other remarks and wanted to hold him accountable. Now he's really apologizing in a much better way. He, according to Vanity Fair, had pulled himself out again from the running for host. Now it seems like maybe he wants it again. I say just get someone else. I'm happy that he's evolved. I'd like him to prove that he's evolved. Don Lemon says that Kevin said he doesn't really want to be an ally for the queer community. That's kind of weird. I'd rather he be an ally, put his money where his mouth is. But in the meanwhile, let's get someone else to host.
So we get to this point, and it's not even just limited to this conversation. Where is that line? Is it individual by individual, Michael, in terms of you want contrition, you want the attention that goes along with it, you want people to know it's not funny, it's not acceptable, but if you shame him and put him in the corner, de-advance the conversation. How do you navigate that? Because just thinking for a second, if he gets up on the stage at the Oscars, he's going to have to eat crow for the first 5 minutes of his monologue here. And if there ever was going to be an international spotlight on that, it would be then. That's an opportunity.
Crow, you know what? If he goes on the Oscars and eats crow, I would be happy with that because he'll be saying a lot of positive things about the LGBTQ community. So maybe this would actually be a good advance for everyone involved. It's really case by case, like you say, Richard. You make a terrible joke like that, it comes up again. From Roseanne and Kevin Hart, here is the lesson, celebrities. Apologize. Just flat out apologize. No excuses. Don't say you've been thrown under the bus. Don't make yourself the victim, even if you feel you are. Just say you're sorry, and that will help heal the situation and prove that you're sorry and move on.
And by the way, just to show how conflicted I am, Kevin Hart, didn't apologize in the beginning and then said, I've been sorry 5, 6 times. No one could find one single incident where he actually did, which again is a debit in the ledger. I've heard you say, you know, they could go other names, Wanda Sykes being one of them and someone else. I actually like that name. That's a good call. But let's take out morality out of this altogether. The Globes, I thought, were kind of boring. And if Hart even hosted, if ratings are the name, you're going to get eyeballs in the beginning because you want to see either a train wreck or what he's going to say. But it probably would be a bad night because there'll be no edge to it. I mean, how do you apologize and fall on your sword and then mock everybody in the audience? I don't know how you navigate that from a ratings and good TV standpoint. Would that be good TV? Again, taking the morality out of this, if you're looking at the Nielsen's, does this help or hurt if he hosts?
Well, if you notice from the Golden Globes, which, by the way, had a 4% drop in the ratings from last year, most of Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh's jokes were about how you can't say anything. Mm-hmm. Their whole opening monologue was, we're going to roast the celebrities, and by the way, you're all terrific. That was a parody of the politically correct situation we live in. Kevin Hart would have to just say gays are great. I'm okay with that. I think it would get ratings, at least for the beginning, because people are going to tune in to see what he's going to say. And if he's going to praise the queer community, that's great. It's not that hilarious, but neither was his joke about his son.
Nope, it wasn't.
I still say, you know what? I still say he shouldn't muddy the waters. He should have stuck to his original statement. I don't want to distract. Let me deal with my issues, go off in a corner. There are so many other people they could get. A lot of them don't want the job, unfortunately. It pays very little, by the way, and it's potential career suicide if you don't do well with it. So even though I'm coming up with all these names they could use, a lot of those people would turn it down, but there must be someone who's funny and not horrifying at the same time.
Michael, thanks for giving me a few minutes. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're going to be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us.